It's too fucking big and it's too fucking loud. This is We Have Concerns. Hi, Jeff Canada.
Hi, Anthony Carboni.
Hello, concerned citizens.
Anthony, it's that time once again when I would like to submit to you via our wonderful listeners who have submitted this to me for your consideration, Anthony, a potential Chronicles of a Badass.
Oh,
Hit
my
that
dear.
Music. Wait,
I don't have any.
We don't have any music for that. Okay.
I don't have any music. We barely have video right now. You're asking me for a lot.
Chronicles of a Badass is our occasional recurring segment where I try to convince Anthony that someone has done something unique or interesting or worthy of praise. And Anthony almost invariably tells me, not really. That's my...
Well, it's just inevitably connected. So much badassery, Jeff, is so inevitably connected to stupidity.
Yes. You see, you get it.
I guess I do. And we just have two very different views of it.
This week's Chronicles of a Badass submission comes to us from one of our most frequent, most stalwart submitters, Z Synergy Mansfield. Woo! Synergy, always doing that work. Doing the work. And posting on our Discord. Our Discord, of course, exclusive to patrons at any level. Even just a single $1 a month gets you access to our Discord. And this is the story of a man.
Patreon.com/We Have Concerns.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I forgot that part. A man named Robbie Silk. Robbie Silk is a pioneer.
I like that name already, though.
Right? Smooth like Robbie Silk.
Robbie Silk is definitely an R&B artist.
Hey, ladies, it's Robbie Silk. How you doing?
Robbie Silk.
Robbie Silk is a pioneer in the world of sports, Anthony. I know that's not something we usually cover a lot here on We Have Concerns, but I submit to you, Robbie Silk has a vision for a brand new extreme sport. He is the first and, let's be honest, right now, only competitor in a sport he's calling competitive sitting.
Huh. Now, I'm sort of on board for this one, I think.
All right.
Because
I picked you already.
Because I feel like I've maybe already been doing it.
You've been training your whole life for this one?
This is sort of, I mean, I don't say I'm a natural at many things. I don't believe that people are just born with talent, Jeff.
Right.
But I might be the guy for this.
Some people are born great. Some have greatness thrust upon them. Others have just been sitting idly by waiting for greatness to arrive.
And baby, it apparently did.
Yes, this is extreme chair sitting. So what Robbie Silk does is he takes himself a chair. It's a folding chair, not an uncomfortable folding chair. He's got himself kind of a fancy chair. It's a comfy kind of one of those chairs that you take camping or something. And he goes to extreme locations in the world, deserts, the Antarctic, and he sits in his chair from sun up to sundown. The chair, by the way, is a Helinox. Helinox. I don't know this chair. Have you heard of a Helinox chair?
No, but I'm an amateur, so I don't know what all the pros use.
Yeah, you got to get sponsorships, all that stuff. Helinox, Helinox chairs, his chair of choice. Lightweight, foldable. He brings it to extreme locations and he sits in the chair from sun up to sundown. Now, here's the kicker, Anthony. Here's the where it takes it from, just somebody that sits to a professional athlete. He, of course, these are very extreme conditions, extreme heat, extreme cold, but he does not allow himself any timepieces. No way to keep track of how long he's been there. No screens, no watch, no way to know how long he's lasted. Only an observation of the sun as it moves across the sky.
This is very old school meditation of him.
Yeah. Honestly, that's kind of, he claims that's where he got the inspiration. Evidently, he was reading a book back in the 90s.
Humble brag.
What's that?
Humble brag.
Yeah. I mean, we can all read books, right?
Yeah, I've read a book.
Yeah.
On tape.
He was reading this book, and in the book, what's the name of the book? He says it here. Anyway, he was reading this book when he was on vacation, and it talks about a man who was waiting for something to arrive, and the person says, "What if it takes a week?" And the man replies, "I'll wait." And he thought, "Oh, the book is called The Hodge, H-A-J, Hodge, The Hodge, a novel by American author Leon Uris, U-R-I-S." So the man says, "I'll wait." And this made our friend, Mr. Silk, contemplate this notion of what if we could all just say, fuck you to time? Because let's be honest, we're all sort of slaves to time. If Robbie Silk imagined a world where time is of no consequence?
I mean, when you say, what if we could just give a fuck you to time? I think there are cooler ideas on how to do that, or at least splashier ideas on how to do it.
Sure.
But yeah, I do. It is sort of a power move in today's society to just sit.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm such a powerful figure.
Yes, exactly. People have noted your immense power by your the
that
number
guy
of
doesn't do
hours
anything.
you sit.
He's got to do something eventually, right? No, he never does.
No. Wow. What power?
What about his potential? Doesn't matter. Squandered, wasted.
He does not realize it. Yeah.
Less and less of it every day. So what? Yeah. So he goes to places that are uncomfortable to sit in. And then he sits. How long does he sit? And he just sits for like one day? Like, what is he?
His record is 14 hours, 27 minutes, I believe. I'll tell you the first time he did it. So this is in the 90s. He reads the book. He's inspired. He goes to the Sedona Desert in Arizona and says, I'm going to try this for the first time. He sits, and he lasted 3 hours before leaving.
Coward.
He attributes the failure of the first attempt to, quote, bloating from copious amounts of cheese he'd eaten the night before.
He wasn't on an athletic regimen.
We all have a journey to our athletic peak. You know what I'm saying, Anthony? You don't start running a 3-hour marathon. You know what I'm saying?
No, especially not after you've eaten a bunch of cheese. I suppose some people might, but feels like the incorrect way. So just sitting around in the sun for 3 hours with a tummy full of cheese was his first experience with this.
Yeah.
And also a story that you decided to share with me, trying to get this guy into Chronicles of a Badass.
Well, I'm just saying that is his humble beginnings. This is
sure.
You don't start a badass, right?
No.
We all have a journey. And this is his origin story, Anthony. This was, the first time you walk on the baseball field, maybe you don't hit a home run. You know what I'm saying? He tried it. He experimented with his idea, and he had to go back to the drawing board and go, what am I doing wrong?
Perhaps it was the cheese. It was the cheese.
Maybe it was the cheese. And
if I had to guess,
well, you guessed really quickly. It took Robbie 2 decades to try it again.
Whoa, wait.
I
He
mean,
did it once. He ate too much cheese and said, fuck this. I'm never doing it again for 20 years.
it doesn't go into it, but I think we can surmise the cheese incident was much more intense than originally,
20 years. He got bloated from eating too much cheese and he walked away from the sport.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Like many
Michael
other
Jordan.
great athletes. Think about it.
Like Michael Jordan, he went and tried baseball and, left and then he came back to basketball with his true calling, where he's the greatest.
Right. And then at the end of The Last Dance, they talk about how he had a single cheese plate towards the end of his career and said, I can't anymore.
Right.
He's like, I've done basketball, then I did baseball, I'm back to basketball. I've been in films, but now it's time to retire because my tummy is doing a grumble.
That's right.
From too many soft cheeses. A man who walks away from his feats because he ate too many soft cheeses, Jeff, that's not a badass.
Well, I'm just saying he came back to it 20 years later. In 2019, he decided to try again, this time in Joshua Tree, the national park there. And he said, you know what? I'm going to do the sitting thing. I'm going to go hard. He, smartly avoided some cheese. He sat there in direct sunlight, 360-degree view. He had long sleeve shirt on for the SPF protection, long pants, hiking boots, a hat, a shawl for his neck, and some jerky, chunks of fresh watermelon, energy bars, and 2 gallons of water. And then he lasted for 14 hours.
Sure. Does he get up to pee? He's allowed to take breaks for that.
This is where I find the most objection to the concept here, because he does get up to stretch his legs. He does get up to relieve himself. And now here's the part that I don't feel comfortable with. And I know you're going to make a lot about this. It says that at least twice during the 14 hours, he dozed off.
Now, see, you're right. And because Jeff, now that he is dozed off, that is part of this, there is no difference between this man and me when my phone goes dead on a plane. There is literally no difference. Me getting caught with my phone battery dead somewhere is this guy.
Yeah. Yeah. I really think that if Robbie wants this sport to catch on, he's going to have to cut out the sleep, The sleep.
Now, I'm not going to say, I think there are some people that would say he's getting up to go to the bathroom. He's getting up to do this. Like he shouldn't, like that's not extreme. I'm saying, here's the thing. He's not that horrible David Blaine. He's not David Blaine.
Yeah,
he's
not. This is not a self-torture thing. This is not about trying to do something. He doesn't want. He's not out there to hurt himself.
All the athletes get to pee during halftime.
Exactly. Name me an athlete that doesn't pee.
Michael Jordan.
He doesn't pee.
You got to watch The Last Dance, man. I'm telling you, there was a lot of cool stuff in there. The cheeses. He doesn't urinate. Like. It was wild. I
just watched the memes of him looking at an iPad. I just thought that was the whole show.
I mean, it's most of it, if I'm honest. It's most of it, and also that he's just a terrible guy to know. But here's the thing: the peeing, all that stuff, that's fine. But this is literally like, I don't know, man. There's something about this. Putting this out there as an extreme sport is a strange angle to take. And I want to know if that's his take or if that is Atlas Obscura's take, this article, because it's not an extreme sport. This is something that people do at like meditation retreats. This is something, man, I've watched old people do this nonstop.
It's like this old people's go-to thing.
Dude, at the end, like, look, towards the end, we're all extreme sitting.
Yes. Yes.
You know what I mean?
It's really more of a necessity than anything else, but yes.
And so, and even in the beginning of our life, think about babies and stuff. They're just doing it.
Oh, you think there could be a whole youth division in this sport? Is that what you're suggesting?
I don't know. I think youth athletes get really mistreated, and I wouldn't want to, And that's the other thing is I don't want to put that stress on them to where they have the mental stress where they peak at 9 months and then they feel horrible for the rest of their lives because
it's all downhill from there.
Yeah, exactly.
And they lose all their sponsors at 10 months. That's rough.
They got to take off their tiny little Valvoline jackets. I just think that if it's him that's presenting this as an extreme sport, he's a bit delusional. If it is Atlas Obscura that's doing it, that's something different. If he's I just want to test, this is more of an endurance. It's not an extreme sport. It's sort of a mental endurance test. It's something where I'm trying to clear my head. I'm trying to get out there more with nature.
Yeah.
I'm trying to feel more connected to things. All of that stuff I buy, I believe, I think it's wonderful. The disconnecting, the not being afraid to take a little time to just chill. I love all of these things. Taking control of that. I love it. Extreme sport, get fucked.
Well, this article does point out that there has been a sport similar to this that has been practiced for hundreds of years, or at least 100 years.
But wait, no, go.
This is a Dutch sport called Palzitten. I'm sure I'm mispronouncing that, but it's
Palzitten. Yeah, pole sitting. I've seen this.
Pole sitting. Yes.
Yeah, dude. Sometimes I think I'm fluent in Dutch. They have so many cognates.
Yeah.
Sometimes people will be talking. If people will be speaking Dutch, and I'll just be I'm pretty sure I got most of that. And then other times I'm this is the most fucked language I've ever heard in my life.
Sometimes Dutch it feels like it's just an accent. It's you're saying just English words, but you're saying them funny. Palzitten. Yeah, you said pole sitting, didn't you? Yes, I did.
You got me. The language is fake. We only speak 4 languages, not 5.
We just got us. Round up.
We're actually dumb. We only speak 4 languages.
But pole sitting is a competitive sport where this feels more like something that is unusual enough to be considered a sport. No offense to Robbie Silk here, but if you look at pictures of pole sitting, they put poles in water.
Yeah.
And it's literally a tiny pole sticking up out of the water with a little circular seat on it. There's no back to the seat. There's just a little platform on a pole in water. And the reason they do it in water is so if anybody falls asleep, they fall into water.
Yeah.
Now that's a sport I could watch,
That's not just a sport. That's also a Japanese game show.
Yes.
And
exactly.
I can't, I actually love that because there is some endurance to that, right? Because you're up on top of this pole. There's no back. It's an uncomfortable position. You're up there over water. Once you fall, it's over. There's no dozing.
There's no dozing. Dozing equals loss. That's how Robbie Silk's sport should be. Dozing equals you lose. Disqualification immediate.
Yeah, because there's the thing of trying to keep a meditative state for a long period of time while you're feeling your human body I've been sitting in this one position for hours. I have to sort of ignore that pain. I'm very tired, but I can't go to sleep. I have to just sit and be all of that. Once you're dozing, dude, that's just have you ever taken a vacation and there's a nice view from where you're staying or there's a pool and you fall asleep at the pool?
Yeah, no, that's just vacation. You're right.
That's just what you're doing is just vacation, dog.
Robbie Silk is just going out to really interesting vacation spots and relaxing.
It says his longest time was in Joshua Tree. Man, the difference between me and Robbie Silk and Joshua Tree is I had a beer.
Yes.
I was sitting with a beer and I was looking at the desert and I was this is pretty dope. This is pretty dope. And also I probably packed fewer provisions than he did because I'm bad at planning.
Less jerky.
Yeah. Probably not as much water, but probably got in the car and drove because no matter where you are in Joshua Tree, you're 20 minutes from somewhere you can get snacks.
Yeah.
I don't know, Jeff. I don't know about badassery.
Not a badass?
I don't think so.
Robbie Silk?
I enjoy this. If he's really trying to make it a competitive sport, I think there's something interesting to that. But it seems like he's just chilling.
All
and
right.
Atlas Obscura wanted to make this into a sports story.
Let's brainstorm a way to turn this into a sport. Do you think it has any potential? I mean, I think pole sitting is pretty close to what I would say competitive sitting should be.
Yes, there should be. Okay, if this is being done on like a regular height chair or something, or like a stool of some kind, number one, immediately take away. I'm looking at this picture of Robbie Silk here, and I got to tell you, Jeff, this dude he is living the life on a comfy chair. Like if we look at this chair, that's a 45-degree recline.
If I look at a picture of you competing in your sport and it is indistinguishable from my uncle on vacation, that's a problem.
That's a
right?
problem. So immediately we have to, I think balance has to be a part of this. Let's work the core. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Let's get you on, have you ever had somebody like a doctor or a physical therapist give you one of those like balance boards and they're like round?
Oh yeah.
And you have to like figure out for your core and your back how to stand without the balance board falling, and you don't. Yeah. And so you never do it again. And when your doctor asks, you go, yeah, the exercises are doing well.
Yeah, it's like paddle boarding on land, basically.
Yes. And so I think what we need some sort of a chair that allows you, maybe you're sitting cross-legged. I don't know. Cross-legged on its own is something that becomes uncomfortable after a certain amount of time. Maybe there's no prescribed posture, but you are on a wobbly platform. So if you do want to reposition, that's going to be a little tough.
Yeah, something that you can get better at over time, I think. Yeah, I like that.
I think obviously sleeping is right out. Sleeping has
to be
out.
the first disqualification factor. Like that's just come on.
Yeah, the two big ones should be you lose balance on the chair.
Yeah.
Or you fall asleep, which will also cause you to lose balance on the chair. But I do think there should be a specific rule about sleeping, just in case somehow you manage to sleep and stay balanced.
Now, the vectors that Robbie tracks to make to determine degree of difficulty are temperature and length of day. And he says it's tricky because the farther you go north during the summer solstice, the longer the day is, but the temperatures tend to decrease. So one factor goes up, but the other goes down.
Right. Now I'm going to go back to the venerable Japanese game show industry for this one, Jeff. And I think the weather needs to be a little extreme as well. I think you're right. If it needs to be either very cold or very hot.
Yeah.
Length
of
day
Robbie's doing. That's what Robbie's doing. He said he got icicles on his chair in Antarctica,
He did this in Antarctica?
Yeah, I mentioned that. He started with deserts.
Yeah.
And then he went to Antarctica.
Wow.
Yeah.
How long did he last in Antarctica? Because that's basically the sun never sets.
Does the sun never set in Antarctica?
I mean, mostly it doesn't.
Yeah, let's see if they have any stats for his Antarctica trip. He went he went with a tour group.
Mm-hmm.
And
my sister just did one of those.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see Robbie Silk?
I don't know. I should ask.
The Scenic Eclipse cruise ship is what he went out on. And Jonathan Furman, who was the guy who was there to help passengers get onto and off of the island in Antarctica from the cruise ship, said it was weird. This guy brought a chair with him, and then he just sat there all day. So I thought, quote, why not? Yeah, the first.
None of this is an interesting story. Isn't that wild? None of this is an interesting story at all. Like this tour guide was like, this guy wanted to sit. And so I was like, yeah, okay, sit. What? That's your story, man?
This is Extreme Chair Sitting's first live audience. That's what that is.
And let me tell you something. They were into it clearly. This is really, people were hype. Yeah, so I think yes, if the weather is extreme like that, does length of day, I don't think we're going to run into problems with length of day as much. Like, you should not run into a problem with length of day. If this is a competitive sport, we should not have to worry about whether the day is 9 or 14 hours. Like,
yeah,
because the loss of balance or comfort should probably happen sooner than that.
I do like the fact that you can't check how long you've been there unless you can read the sun in the sky. I like the idea of not having, not having any time keeping devices. I think that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
I think that adds the level of difficulty.
I have to do that. We've talked about this before. I have to do that when I jog. Otherwise I look at the clock to see how long I've been jogging every 7 seconds because it's unpleasant.
Yes.
And I'm just like, oh my God, how much? Oh my God, it's only been another 15 seconds. And I have to stop myself from counting in my head too.
Yes. I do that with like sit-ups and push-ups.
Mm-hmm.
If I know how many I think I can do, I won't be able to do more than I think I can do. You know what I mean?
Now that's an interesting thing.
Have you ever never experienced that?
I count them as I do them because otherwise, how do you quantify?
Well, no, I do that. But if I think it's weird, I'm like, oh, I'm going. I think I can beat my limit. And then I'm like, oh, and I get right close to it. And then all of a sudden it gets way hard. And I got to imagine
they talk about that in The Last Dance.
Yes.
It's a mental game.
It is a mental game. Yes, it is a mental game.
That's the thing is you got to the point of competition. And you choked in the moment.
Yeah. I need my Scottie Pippen of push-ups, you know?
That's what you need. Yeah. You got to have a Scottie Pippen of push-ups. I definitely get that sometimes too, particularly like if I'm doing like third set of something and the third set is just do as many as you can until you tire out. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like, I'm like, okay, well, I'll do, in the last set I only did 8. So it would be crazy that for me to be able to do 8 because this is more weight and I'm more tired and it's like and you're like ugh! So yeah, I do kind of psych myself out in those ways. I mean, that's one of the things that I find fascinating about this is I think my brain would go to the point where it's like, can I tell the time by the sun? Am I able to see how long I've been here? Yeah. Let me look at the length of my shadow. I feel like it's been a couple of like stopping yourself from doing that in a situation like this.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing is it has to be like a mindset thing. And that's what I think is interesting about this. Like, fuck this couching it as an extreme sport. What this guy is doing is he's changing his mindset to where it's like, no, this isn't unpleasant. Anything I do is pleasant because I choose to do it, which is like a huge point of all of this mindfulness practice stuff. And it is hard to do.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think he's basically doing a meditation retreat where people go and sit for hours at a time. He's just doing it outside in really harsh conditions, you know?
All right. Well,
which is not easy.
No, but it's easier than doing literally anything else in those conditions.
It's true.
So I mean, if you and I were tossing a frisbee back and forth,
yeah,
not even extreme. Like if you and I were just having fun, like just tossing a frisbee back and forth.
I don't toss a frisbee unless it's extreme, Anthony.
No, I respect that, but that's why I'm saying this is a hypothetical.
Oh, okay, I get it.
Like I understand that you only extreme frisbee.
Yeah,
yeah, you only really do the extreme disc throwing,
of course, yeah.
But I mean, I'm saying, imagine if we were doing it as like a child,
right?
Back and forth.
Yes.
We would be doing a more extreme sport than him. If we were next to him, anywhere that we're next to him and standing up, we're doing something more extreme than him.
That's true. Yeah.
So that's where my questioning of this as an extreme sport comes from.
Well,
that's all.
Here's where I think he's a badass. I'll just lay my final hypothesis here. And you've already sort of debunked it because your opinion is that it's really Atlas Obscura that's kind of making this thing. But I think it's badass for anybody to be like, I'm pioneering a new sport. I'm doing something nobody else has done before, and I think it can catch on. Here we go. Like, I think that's pretty badass.
Yeah, and particularly for it to be this silly. I think that's double badass, is to like not back down. He's like that guy on Shark Tank who had that weird paddleball sport. That he was like, this is the game of the future. And everybody's like, this is ridiculous. You're a fool.
Yeah.
So he's if you're saying a badass in that way, once again, we brush up against my thing of like, most of these require a certain amount of stupidity.
Yes. Which is my favorite part of them.
I don't know. To me, badass,
you really need to have a complete lack of self-awareness.
No, lack of self-awareness and stupidity are two different things. And I will say that
they're related.
As an award-winning science podcast, we have to put a little bit more respect. We have to remove stupidity from being a badass. I feel like that's our job as a science podcast.
It's so much fun to look at stupid people.
Yeah, sure, but I don't call them badass. Listen, what do y'all think? Right. You can let us know on the Discord, obviously. To join that, you can go to patreon.com/wehaveconcerns. You can tweet at us. I don't look at a lot of tweets. Twitter's a bad place, but, you can do it. And, also we want to let you know that if you have a Chronicles of a Badass entry, please send it to us either at wehaveconcernshow@gmail.com. Leave it on the Discord. Whisper it into a bird's ear and tell it, hurry to Colorado.
Find him. Find him. Yes.
Find him and let him know the badass is here.
And if you want access to that Discord, patreon.com/wehaveconcerns. Just $1 a month gets you access to the Discord. And it's great folks and cool stories and all kinds of delicious information.
And as you give a little more, you get a little more in return. Things like early episodes, bonus audio, all kinds of fun stuff, even extra science videos every month. Check out patreon.com/wehaveconcerns. Jeff, since we're talking about sort of meditation and mindset, I'd like to bring up a classic philosophical problem.
Ooh.
I'd like to talk about the trolley problem.
Oh, yes. One of my favorite ones to talk about. I think, didn't we do the trolley problem as one of the first episodes of We Have Concerns? Something similar to it. It was sort of the new version of the trolley problem with regard to AI and self-driving cars.
Yes, we were talking about self-driving cars and how they decide to handle the trolley problem.
Right.
When all the cars on the road are intelligent vehicles, eventually one of those intelligent vehicles will have to make a decision not based on saving everybody's life, but it will have to be like, statistically, how do I minimize death?
Yeah.
Right. Which is fascinating. I mean, that's really what the trolley problem is about, right? The idea here, if you've never heard about the trolley problem, most people have, is there is a trolley. You are at the control of the tracks switcher. One track makes the trolley hit one person. If you switch to the other track, the trolley will hit 5 people. You cannot stop the trolley. What do you do? And, most people, they make the sensible answer, right? Most people say, I'm gonna hit the one person. Like that's, there's really, if you're telling me there's no way, then I guess my answer is I'm going to hit one person.
Right.
Right.
But then, so I think there's lots of wrinkles to it too, which is like, it was headed toward the 5 people. You have to make it hit the one person. So you are actively deciding to kill that one person.
Right. And then there are permutations of it, which is like, well, what if that one person is a doctor that is about to cure, like you recognize that person and it's a doctor that's about to cure a disease.
Right. Right.
Or what if it's somebody that you know, right?
Yeah.
Or all of these little wrinkles that get added to the trolley problem that are like, how are you going to solve this problem? But one thing that we've seen with the trolley problem is across basically all societies, all cultures, no matter what their beliefs are, no matter sort of the way they are set up or their ethical, moral, religious beliefs, everybody basically is like, well, you got to do the least bad if you can't do the most good. And I'm going to have to hit that one person.
Right.
Right. Now, because of this, people have been trying to figure out if there are other permutations to the trolley problem that can get people to answer something different, if there are versions of the trolley problem that can show differences between cultures, or if these things are so universal that there is no other answer to the trolley problem. How do we change the trolley problem to get different answers from different cultures is basically what this group has been looking into, right? So there are these researchers that decided to find out if new permutations of the trolley problem can show differences between cultures. They surveyed 27,000 people in 45 different countries to figure out new versions of the trolley problem.
Seems like a bunch of researchers that wanted to get free travel. You know what I'm saying?
That's right. That's what it
45
sounds
countries.
like.
We need to go to 45 countries.
We have to go.
Submit the grant proposal.
There's no way. There's no other way to do it. Like you couldn't just like Zoom these people. No. You need to be looking another human in the eye, face to face, coming to grips with your ethical decisions. You can't do that over a Zoom call, particularly when I turn on this hilarious filter that turns me into a puppy.
I need to be on the beach in the south of France asking people these questions.
I need to ask wealthy, attractive people these questions all around the world and then follow up with, are you single? How do you feel about scientists? Do you think stats are sexy? There's no other way to do this. Do you think philosophy degrees are hot or useless? That's what I need to be there for.
Turning the trolley problem into the trolley opportunity. You know what I'm saying?
That's what I'm saying. So I'm going to give you these other two versions of the trolley problem, right? So, okay, you're no longer on a trolley, Jeff.
Oh, I like that trolley.
Yeah, the trolley's gone. We're moving forward. You are now in charge of a speedboat.
Ooh, a speedboat? Okay, I'm in.
Yeah, isn't that great? You're on a speedboat, and there are two groups of swimmers that are drowning.
Okay.
There's a group of 2 people, and there's a group of 6 people. You can only reach one before they drown. Which way do you go?
Well, I would go to the 6 people to minimize the bad stuff. But you're going to tell me there's a wrinkle.
No, there is no wrinkle. That's literally the whole thing.
I'm going to save the 6 people if I can get there with my speedboat.
Right? So like for me, my thought feels like the same question.
Yeah.
But there is a slight difference to this question, right? Because in this version, you're helping.
I have a sick speedboat.
And you have a sick fucking speedboat. You can probably do like cool donuts in it or whatever.
Yeah.
And like kick up the wake real high.
After I save those 6 people and I become a hero, do I get to keep the speedboat?
I'm going to say yes.
Sick.
I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say one of the people you saved turned out to be the owner of the speedboat. It's the guy who runs the speedboat rental place.
And he's just keep it?
He's like, keep it, man. You saved my life.
Man, it is, it's ironic that a guy who would own a speedboat rental company would not know how to swim, you know?
It's not that he didn't know how to swim, Jeff. Maybe his leg got caught or he got a cramp because he started swimming more than
he had cheese the night before.
He had a bunch of cheeses and he was bloating. It's how we lost Michael Jordan. That's how Michael Jordan died. He drowned. Have you watched The Last Dance? This show is amazing.
I clearly need to catch up on that. But you know what
at the end, everybody in his family is just like, why wouldn't he stop with the cheeses? We kept telling him.
I was going to say, you know what they say?
Keep gambling.
When you're bloating, you can't be floating. You know,
that's what they say.
Yeah,
and you have to keep that in mind.
Yeah.
But there is a fundamental difference in this question. Whereas in one, you're going to do harm no matter what you do. This is about saving people.
Yes.
And this
so you're being
is
proactive instead of sort of just minimizing the harm. You are, but I still don't see how my answer would change based on that. I'm still doing something. I changed the track in the trolley. I'm doing something.
One thing's interesting about it, hesitancy. Like the trolley problem requires, like, people have a little bit of hesitancy. They're like, I don't want to. And obviously the first thing people ask is, can I stop the trolley?
Right.
Like, are you sure there's no way to stop the trolley? Right. Like with the speedboat problem, there's no hesitancy at all because you're not, even though you are leaving people to die.
Right.
You're not thinking about it that way because it's not you're choosing who to hurt. You're choosing who to help. Everybody would be hurt. Right.
If you did nothing, both parties die. Right. Whereas in the trolley problem, if you did nothing, still only one of the parties dies.
Yeah. It's the problem that's given to every actor that's ever played Spider-Man.
Right.
But, Spider-Man figures out how to save both. You're not Spider-Man is what we learned from this version.
But I have a 6 speedboat.
You do have a 6 speedboat and Spider-Man doesn't have that.
Yeah,
so,
fuck you, Spider-Man.
Yeah, eat shit, Peter Parker. Your job sucks. And I have a speedboat. So the thing is there's no hesitancy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the difference is like, and people have less guilt, right? The trolley problem leaves them with guilt. Shouldn't you still have guilt about the 2 people that you couldn't save? Shouldn't you be a little bit like Spider-Man in that sense? But it turns out most people aren't. These are a bunch of strangers. Like, it sucks that I couldn't save those people, but I'm not going to lose any sleep over it because I saved 6 people.
Yeah, I did what I could. Yeah,
right.
Yeah. If the building is on fire and you run in and you can only save, the kitty cat, but the goldfish and the dog perish, you did what you could. You did something heroic.
Sometimes you run into the burning building and you go to save an old lady and it turns out it's the Green Goblin.
Oh, man, I hate it when that happens.
Now, that's a version of the problem that they did not bring up. But at the same time, no, Spider-Man doesn't have to feel guilty about that, although he does have to feel guilty about getting caught by the Green Goblin.
Yeah.
That's a classic ethical problem.
But, in my own way, it's the same thing because, as I always say, with a 6 speedboat comes great responsibility,
I always say with a 6 speedboat comes sick jumps.
That too.
And that's why one of us lives with a lot less guilt than the other. Now, here's the second point. Here's the second permutation of this that they brought up. You're back on the trolley, Jeff. There's only
now.
Your speedboat. Let's say your speedboat is docked and it's ready for the weekend, but you're not at the lake right now.
I need to get on the trolley to get.
You're on the trolley to get to the lake.
Okay, I'm good. Okay, good.
This time there is no track switch, Jeff. There are 5 people on the track. They will die. There is no way to stop the trolley. But if you throw one person in front of the trolley, Jeff, it will derail and you'll save everyone. It'll slow to a stop.
So I'm going to guess that most people in this situation say they would throw themselves in front of the trolley. Right?
Now, most people actually say that they don't think they could do it. They don't think they would do anything.
Yeah.
Because not everybody is Spider-Man 2. You know what I mean? That's a Spider-Man 2 situation. Once again, all of these things can be boiled down to Spider-Man. All philosophical problems can be boiled down to Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Spider-Man 2, he puts himself in front of that train. And he's like, look, this might tear me in half.
Yeah.
And this might be the most on-the-nose Jesus imagery in any superhero movie ever. Both of these things are fine because that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
Because I'm Spider-Man.
Yeah. I mean, I think I would probably do something as long as it didn't reveal my secret identity.
Yeah.
Anybody.
No. But I mean, I think even if you did, they'd be like, oh, he's just a kid. He's just a kid of 45.
Yeah.
He's just a kid of 45. Don't worry, kid. We're all New Yorkers here and we won't give away that you're just a kid of 45.
Yeah. And they'll hoist me onto their shoulders and carry me.
Yeah.
Carry me like a Christ-like figure.
Yes. Yes, but older than Christ. much older.
Much older than Christ ever was.
Yeah. But this one is very interesting. People won't do it. People will not.
And this crosses cultures. There's no cultural difference here. This is just people are like, I'm not going to throw someone in front of the trolley, even if it'll save a lot of people.
Basically.
Yeah. You don't go through the trolley and be like, hey, who is the oldest person here?
Right. Does anybody here only have like 48 hours to live?
Yeah, exactly. Has anybody been diagnosed with a terminal disease? I'm sorry, but also you'd be super useful right now.
Right. Like, is somebody here immune to trolleys? You know? Which in the Spider-Man world could happen.
Could happen. You maybe got bitten by a radioactive trolley. You don't know.
But the thing is, they found that across all 45 countries, just about every participant, we have an aversion to personal force.
Yeah.
We cannot cause any harm, right? And this is a thing that, once again, hey, if you want to bring it down to Spider-Man terms, talk about all these mad scientists. You talk about your Doc Ocks, your Green Goblins. Hey, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few.
Yeah, right.
I'm here to save the world, and if I gotta hurt a couple people to do that, then we're gonna have to do that. But it turns out that most people will not do that, right?
Yeah.
Because we do see it as something that's villainous. If I push somebody in front of this trolley, that person will die, but I will save 6 lives. No, because that makes me a murderer. But leaving those people in the water doesn't make me a murderer because I didn't do anything that put them into their predicament.
Yeah, they shouldn't have had all that cheese.
They had too much cheese. It's all of the 1988 Chicago Bulls.
Yes.
Because Michael Jordan was like, I'm not going out on the court again unless you all eat the cheese.
Man, him and his ultimatums.
He would just make these ultimatums. He's like, I eat the cheese and look at the Art of the Dunk poster.
Are you going to eat the cheese and now I'm on your sneakers?
Which one of us knows Bugs Bunny? Okay, eat the fucking cheese.
What a tyrant Michael Jordan was.
He was a tyrant. Just a terrible person to know. Now, I think that's very fascinating because all of these situations are the same fundamentally, Jeff.
Yeah.
You are, in all 3 of these situations, responsible for the death of somebody. But it is very situational the way we see this.
Yeah.
It's not just a simple transaction.
No, I think that is interesting. And it is also kind of heartening to me that it is ubiquitous across all cultures. It's constant.
Mm-hmm.
And I gotta wonder if these scientists, they went to 45 countries after like country 31. You think they were like, all the answers have been consistent so far, but I don't know, man. There's like, you think we should go to maybe, I don't know, like 14 more countries?
I'm not married yet. So the answer is yes. Let me tell you what else was a commonality. Everybody was like, ooh, philosophy, boring. That's a callback to a previous episode. Now, and so until we find somebody who's cool with philosophy and thinks this is awesome, we are using that grant money. But they did say, like, they did not find across all countries, no matter what. Like, this is not just in the West. This is not just, in the East. This is not just in what we would consider industrialized nations. This is across the planet. They said the biggest problem they had was explaining the trolley to societies that didn't have a trolley, that didn't understand what that was. It was hard to explain the speedboat to people that weren't near water, Right. Like they were just like, no, you can take the speed out of the boat, I guess, and explain it to most cultures. Imagine the sickest thing you could imagine, and you know what they did? These people who had never seen a speedboat, they actually imagined a jet ski. They went one higher. Wow. They were like, like a jet ski is what I would call it. Those people do have a point. Let's be honest. They do have a point. A jet ski is sicker than a speedboat. But I do think that's funny is like, they had to figure out how to explain a trolley. But other than that, everybody made the same answers. Everybody feels the same way. It's like, I cannot cause harm. It would be wrong for me to cause harm, even indirectly. Yes. Right. But if I'm actively trying to do my best and harm happens at the same time, I'm not responsible for that.
Yeah. I think that makes sense, right? That we have to, I don't think the expectation is you can do anything but your best, but your best can't be causing someone to die for every deciding that someone is going to die for the greater good is evil. I mean,
right.
That's
Thanos, not your decision to make, right?
Yes, exactly. It's not your decision to make. That's exactly it. That's exactly it.
You can't decide that you're going to be the cause of the end of this person's life.
Right.
But that's fascinating to me because like you are sort of doing that in the first Trolley Problem.
Yeah.
In the original one.
But I think in that situation, it's what you're saying is it's inevitable. It's inevitable that one of these two groups is going to die. You're just choosing between them. And in the second one, it's a group is going to die and someone's going to stay safe, or you are going to remove someone from safety and ensure they die. You know, that you're actively changing their fate.
Yeah. I think it's interesting. I think it's interesting that they expected that some societies would have a much more transactional view of this.
Right.
A much more by the numbers view, a much more like it's always one person dying versus 6. You always have, you know what I mean? It would be reasonable to believe that there would be a group of people or some society or a way of thinking that would be like needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few no matter what. You would think that there would be some sort of society like that.
Well, I think the conclusion is that there's something fundamentally human about these feelings. That it is not something that is a construct of culture. It is something fundamentally, at our core as a species that says, we can't decide who lives and dies for someone else. That's not what we want, at a human level.
Yeah, absolutely. Unless, of course, you're the Amazing Spider-Man, in which case you're going to save them all, baby.
You're going to do it. There's no trolley problem. There's just a trolley adventure.
That's right. You remember that Amazing Spider-Man and the Trolley Adventure? That's my favorite episode of the 90s cartoon. They were running out of money at that point, I think. I'm honest.
I think I can. With the Spider-Man.
Let us know how you feel about these findings over on the Discord or on Twitter. I'm at A Carboni.
I'm at Jeff Kanata. We'd love to hear your solution for the trolley problem.
Yeah. Maybe you could Kobayashi Maru this thing. That's the other person who doesn't fail this shit. Captain Kirk.
Never.
Think about that.
Yeah.
And remember, if you've seen stories that you would like to share with us, you can do so at wehaveconcernshow@gmail.com. You can do it on that Discord. You can do it on the subreddit, which is wehaveconcerns.reddit.com. And of course, if you want access to the Discord and all the other fancy stuff that entails, go to patreon.com/wehaveconcerns.
Do it.